Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here. Was in Mendham and such. Oof. Anyway, yeah, stuck here now. But everywhere is going to be sticky. So, I figure I'll just read some Cato the Wiser comments. Comments on just about every video. And they're all just naysay, mush, vacuous. And you're just saying, how can people be this dishonest? I mean, you can make a regular point like cheating sucks, and you explain exactly how something is cheating. It's obvious. And yet they'll say, no, those are my people cheating, it's okay. When my people cheat, it's okay. When those people cheat, it's bad. I mean, the hypocrisy is so glaring. You're just like, who are these people? I mean, how do they function at all, being such gross hypocrites? It's everywhere. And this is the problem of arguing, is you're always arguing with ignorant hypocrites. So, yeah, it's a real problem. Because they seem impervious to reason. They just doesn't matter how much you prove something, they just don't care about truth, honesty, integrity, decency. None of these words mean anything to them. They're just so disgusting. Anyway, so it'll be a couple of different subjects, no doubt. It's going to start with, I did a couple of economics videos, really just rehashing the old stuff that, look, it's a racket, okay? The economy has nothing to do with maximizing productivity. It just has everything to do with keeping the rich rich, especially now, okay? Since 2011, the rules went really wacky, and it's really just to bail out the rich, bail out the rich, bail out the rich, and do it with liabilities on the future. That's it. It's not any more complicated than that. A rich man might go bankrupt. Let's go rescue him. That's all. And it's because of these morons. I mean, morons who are either one of them or they're, sycophants. They idolize the rich, the inheritance wealthy. They think they're so cool. Oh, they're so magnificent as performers. It's just hilarious. So, Cato the Wiser. Oh God, on again with this strange hang-up on inheritance. So, it's obviously not a strange hang-up. I was just pointing out how relative to every other tax, if you're a capitalist, you've got to say, yes, inheritance is the winner. Okay, it's better than taxing income, for fuck's sake, or taxing your house, or taxing all these other things. I mean, this is the winner. Tax the people who didn't earn it. Unearned income. If you can find that somewhere, that's anti-capitalistic. That's anti-reward and punishment. That's anti-earn. That's anti-merit system. So anything that attacks that, it's got to be a win for a true capitalist, somebody who has any kind of principles. I mean, if you're going to play this Darwin game, and that it should be this really honest competition, what honest person says, yeah, I want to engineer a really great game? Let's have rules that are stupid. Of course not. The rules will define how good a game it is. The rules are the definition of the game. The game doesn't have any meaning without the rules of the game. As soon as you license cheating, then you've ruined the game. He won't counter-argue any of those points. So they just say these strange things, a strange hang-up on inheritance. I have a strange hang-up because I don't like a horse race where the horse that didn't win gets to win. We give horses head starts based on who their parents were. I think that would be ludicrous. I think it would be silly. That we let people win gold medals because they have their surname is 300 years old, and therefore they should have advantages. I mean, those are irrational rules. They're nonsensical. They have nothing to do with the function, which is somehow to glean the best performance, to get the best out of people. Rewarding stupidity and rewarding luck and rewarding nonsense doesn't create a good system. It's not going to get the cream to the top and all those kind of things. It's completely illogical to every principle you're attempting to defend. It's the antithesis of the principle. And yet here you say something Strange hang-up. Where's the strange hang-up? I'm a person who doesn't like cheating. I think cheating sucks. Lying and cheating, oh, that sucks. I would hate it if you had a fair in the public square and you had little three-legged races and you gave certain people gigantic head starts. I'd say, gee, fuck this. This is stupid. It's obscene. You're making kids compete based on these idiotic and silly standards of who's got the prettiest dress or who's got the nicest rings or some kind of nonsense. Yeah, I'd find that offensive. It would make me sick to see cheating applauded. Ew, that's disgusting. You're disgusting. Okay, even if it was bad, and it isn't, so a non-statement. So even if it was bad, it's good. So it doesn't even make sense. He says even if it was bad, and he's not going to make the sentence after that, which is somehow it's still good. He's not going to make this it's still somehow good argument because he can't. Even if it's bad, it's good. I mean, how does that? You can't do that. It's like completely against the rules of logic to say even though it's bad, it's good. No, it isn't. There's nothing good about it. It's stupid. Rewarding unearned income is stupid. Okay. The solution of having the government steal it, okay, so is absolutely stupid. So let's go into fantasy land now. Let's pretend the world isn't the world, and you're gonna create a solution for a world that doesn't exist. Now, we currently have a democracy. The democracy votes for the warmongering. I don't like it, okay, frankly. But it's mostly you Republican types, you defenders of inheritance are the ones doing most of the warring. Now, I have to admit, Obama was a warmongering lunatic, and that was a bad choice. Change, that means I'll look like a Republican, and I'll act like one. I'll make up fake excuses to go murder people around the world. So that was horrible. But, I mean, there's no point in having a conversation outside the context of the real world that has to have the solution, right? I'm arguing about solutions for the real world. I'm not arguing for solutions for a world that doesn't exist. Now, I wish the government didn't waste money on frickin' military crapola. I wish they didn't. But they do, and it's a fact, and you have to pay for it. And what's being argued is what's the best way to pay for it, asshole. That's the argument. And your argument is, I don't want to have the argument. I want to argue about fake worlds that don't exist. All right, for what? To fight more wars with for Israel with. So I don't know whether he's going to take that any further. I don't like Israel either as a principle. I don't like religious states or genetic states. I think that's really quite disgusting. It really isn't the proper answer to the genetic problem. The genetic bigotry of the Nazis is not fixed by celebrating your genetic superiority or something. Like you need your genetics preserved. You're special people, and you need a special kind of preservation because you're special. That's kind of horseshit as a response. That's two wrongs don't make a right. And Israel as a principle was all wrong. Okay, genetic states, I mean, please, that's just so wrong. For what? He knows giving it to the government is even worse. No, I don't know that. I mean, I'm just saying the government is the government. The fact is it's still going to have these institutions. The military-industrial complex isn't going away tomorrow. All of these social responsibilities aren't going to go away tomorrow. We all probably could agree that we don't want to put babies back on the street, okay, and we don't want disabled people selling pencils. It's really ugly. Now, I would say I don't want mentally ill people roaming the streets either, okay, but you don't want to pay for them. You don't want to pay for the liabilities of your stupid breeding system where anybody's allowed to breed, and you end up with these huge liabilities of, people who aren't capable of functioning in any productive way, and they're huge, gigantic liabilities, and you just don't want to pay the bills for those unfortunate, disadvantaged, those liabilities that some of the eggs will hatch badly, and you don't have the guts to kill them. You don't have the guts to take care of them. You just run away. You're such a freaking coward. So anyway, It's just some strange personal hang-up about inheritance. So again, I made an hour-long video. I mean, half of it was on the subject of inheritance. Obviously, I made lots of metaphorical points, illustrate how loving cheating is disgusting. It's all it is cheating. You're just we know the game of life is played as individuals. It's not played as families. We know that where the whole idea is to judge a man by the content of his character, not the character of his family, or his race or any of that other crap. So just more horse shit. You can't play along with the rational principles at all. All right. Further, what is it other than a gift? It's irrelevant what it is. What it is rewarding somebody for not doing anything. And that's what we all should agree shouldn't happen. The less that happens, the better. The more people get rewarded, the more deserve has something to do with it, the better. That's the argument. That's why I want to have a fairness first party. Where we just simply say, yes, that's what fairness sort of dictates. That you have to earn it. There has to be good reason. And if there isn't good reason, you don't have good reason. And there's no good reason to gift people for doing nothing, except being your child. There's no rational explanation for how that's good for society. Yes, it isn't. Nepotism is caustic to society. And it's just overtly unfair. We know, and again, unless you're going to control who has the babies, and until you have the balls to do that, you got to take responsibility for their production by the system where you're encouraging their production. You're probably anti-abortion, right? You would just create more liability and then pretend you didn't create it with your policy when you forced women to have kids they didn't want to have. And then you blame them for it. Amazingly hypocritical. So he proposes people not be free to gift people money. So again, obviously I'm saying you can gift them $2 million, let's say. Put a limit on it. Put a limit, 3% of the estate or $2 million, whatever comes first. And you get that tax-free. So all the little businesses, all the small business people can give their business to their kids and all that kind of crap. So you preserve all your little mom and pop bullshit nonsense. You just can't give away the whole store. You can't give away the stock market to a bunch of people who didn't earn it. That's all. That's the huge disadvantage, is that all that wealth doesn't go to people who didn't earn it. And instead, it goes to the people who did. The people who went to work, saved some money, and were able to buy it. Honestly. Not inherit it. Dishonestly. All right. No, Gary, it isn't like welfare. It's worse than welfare. I mean, welfare is just giving people enough money to survive. A meager existence. Maintain the water, food, and oxygen, that kind of stuff. Live in squalor, blah, 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 blah. All right? It's not anything at all spectacular, and the person is obviously incompetent or incapable of being a responsible human being and realizing they shouldn't be a blight on society. They just have too many kids. They have terrible, obvious cognitive difficulty understanding their role here, which isn't just to make a fucking mess and force everybody else to clean it up. And again, so I've never defended welfare beyond the fact that I will defend the fact that you have to clean up messes. And but I think, again, it should be a reward and punishment system. You get more if you make less of a mess. So the least kids you have, the more welfare you get. Not the other way around. All right. And that'll solve the problem fairly quickly. A little expensive in the short run, very economical in the long run. But that's another thing, you people, myopic retards, who keep pretending you love the future. No, you just love your part of it. You're just racists and nepotists and nationalists, and you're just all these badists. You're just really, really ignorant. Okay, so yeah, it's worse than welfare. I mean, welfare is just giving a meager existence, keeping people off the street if possible. But this inheritance shit is huge amounts of power and the capacity to waste huge amounts of human resource. Having people build all kinds of preposterous crap that'll never get used. I mean, how many McMansions have been built by these silly rich people, and they put silly things, I gotta have my own recording studio, and I gotta have my own this, and I gotta have my own that, and so they have all this crap, and then 3 years later they sell the house because they want to go live somewhere else on some other island, and no one will ever use that crap again. It never even got used the first time, and it'll never get used. It was just a huge waste of human industry. All that labor could have been put to making Hoover Dam. All that labor could have been put to, a tidal energy source, some other. All that labor could have been put to something that would benefit all of humanity, and instead it was squandered by these stupid capitalists, these wasteful capitalists, these wasteful inherited scum. They have no appreciation for the value of a dollar because they never had to earn one. They never know what the blood of it is. Spending years washing pots and pans or doing this or doing that. Years carrying newspapers, for example, ruining your back. So the rest of your life you're going to be blighted because, at 11 years old you didn't have the good judgment to say those papers are too heavy. They're going to ruin me. Fuck you. Giving it to them. Anyway, it's like him blaming Bush for something Obama did in the last video. So that's just a lie. Obviously, it was under the Bush administration where the banks came to Bush and said, "Oh, we're panicked. We can't figure it. We're all going to go bankrupt. You must do something." So the policy was initiated under Bush. Obama just let them keep doing it. So, Obama's guilty. I never said anything good about Obama. Obama was a shithead. And he played the same crooked games. He endorsed the same crooked system. He didn't fix anything. So fuck Obama. I've never made a video defending Obama. Okay, but he was better than Bush. So again, you just take everything out of the real context. The real context is you have to vote for one of these assholes. All right, and Bush was a much more dangerous pile of ignorant shit than Obama. At least Obama had some kind of brain and could have an interaction with people. Bush was a stupid fuck. I mean, he's not as dumb as Trump, but he was pretty fucking dumb. I mean, 9/11's happening. He's reading little kids' stories to kids, and he didn't even figure out that maybe I should become presidential, and no, I'll stay doing this because this is so much more important than I finish telling these 20 kids a little bedtime story. I mean, it was hilarious. President Bush, guess what? The towers are falling down. Well, I'll take care of that later. I'm busy now. Moron. Okay. Let's see. So he proposes people not be free to gift people money. So again, yes, I say they can gift them, but gift within reason. You do not reward people for bad behavior. So if somebody proposes giving some psycho killer in prison and they just love him and they want to give him $1 billion, I'd say yes, we have a law against it. No, you cannot reward people for bad behavior. Very bad thing to do. No, Gary, it isn't like welfare. Okay, we already did that. Okay, Obama, yes. He has irrational beliefs, religion. So again, he keeps claiming I have a religion, yet he can't cite the dogma I'm reading from in any way. He can't explain how I haven't explained exactly the mechanism I'm saying is in control. I draw the pictures of how the economic system works, and he doesn't explain how I'm wrong about any of it. So where's the religion? Where's the dogma? Oh, that's right, it doesn't exist. You're the one living in dogma. The dogma of your racism, the dogma of your elitism, like somehow you've proven you're worth it. Somehow you earned it. You're telling me right to my face, you're saying to me logically that it makes sense for somebody to say, yes, my father did all the work, but I earned it. That's logical. That you can do that. You can walk through your life saying, because my father has a big dick and giant testicles, I do. Right? You can go ahead and lie. And it's a lie, obviously. Right? You don't necessarily inherit those things, is the point. Irrational beliefs, religion, about all sorts of things. Well, not that you could recite any of them in any rational form because you're an asshole and an idiot. I mean, it'd be nice just to know what kind of creature this is. I mean, who the fuck is this lunatic? Who just keeps defending this status quo mush. This moron redneck bullshit. All right, all sorts of things, and it blinds him. Yes, well, you won't make a rational argument how I'm blind to the fact that cheating is really cool. Claiming you're better than everybody else when you haven't proven it isn't really cool. Telling other people to pull up their bootstraps when you never had to do it isn't really cool. Yeah, show me how I'm blind because I think it sucks when people claim a superiority for which they haven't earned. Like, should people be allowed to say they're doctors when they don't have a doctorate? I mean, how much lying do you think is okay about your proficiency and your function? Shame, really. Yeah, fuck you. It's a shame you don't get what you deserve. I mean, I wish the world was that way because this is obnoxious to the truth, and you should be punished for it. It's such a dishonest pile of tripe. Alright, so on to other subjects. We'll just go in order of the videos and see. See, that's a comment every one, so I'll see what the other video says. So I'll be back. Alright, back. Should be anyway. Let me check just to make sure. Alright, so this is a ironically funny comment. Good video. So in this video I'm basically pointing out what the inheritance loafers, the shenanigans are up to preserve their wealth. Okay, so it's just kind of ironic that he would call that a good video when it's just about the very people who, like the banking industry especially, full of nepotism, full of, you know, unearned entrance. Okay, it isn't like there was some little accountant somewhere and he was just so brilliant and he became the king of banking. It's not how you get there. But anyway, it's a little funny though that the chart is pretty level until Obama, not Bush. So again, it's Bush's policy. It's the Fed that decided to do this that's the relevant part. And the fact is that yes, Obama came in and he didn't purge. Okay, he didn't purge those loonies out of the Fed and say this is so dishonest, let's not do this. He did it because, yes, they're all desperate to make the stock market go up because that's the only way you imbeciles can figure out whether things are good or not. It's not the way you should be measuring it because it's a bubble market. It's not a market deciding real value. Just like the expectation that people had that their house keep going up in value. It's a silly expectation. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, that's called inflation. It isn't a good thing. It's a bad thing. Stupid morons. All right, so not much there. So we'll move on to the next. Got to keep proper track of when things are on and off. Anyway, so on this video, this last week's What the Fuck, I believe, Gary thinks everything was this glacial pace incrementalism. So it's exactly not what I believe at all. I've pointed out punctuated equilibrium. I pointed out that the real mechanism of evolution is these negative functions because it's really just about error code. And the more errors you create, the more likely one of them might be a winner kind of bullshit. So if you can take a big population, a stable population, a healthy population, and you can break it off into little pieces of isolated, and then you can make them sick and make them all kinds of disabled, make them all kinds of bad things will happen because all inbreed and a lot of crap will happen. The fact is one of them will invent penicillin. One of them will do something good, come up with a good change, modification. And then that one can come back to the herd and spread that positive thing because it's so much more positive. So doing the little experiments quickly, all right, is where evolution really runs fast. It runs slow in the herds, like you want to belong to. Okay, so except for human intelligence. So again, my argument for human intelligence is that it happened that fast. It was just a simple thing that gave us the capacity to do language, a simple shift of a little bit of hard drive space from being preoccupied with, say, like I've pointed out, we clearly, our ancestors had a better sense of smell than we do. All the primates do. You go to all the other kind of animals, they have more. Their senses are better than our senses, so that we likely sacrificed some sense function to apply a more complex arrangement for an operating system, in the sense to do language, to do symbolic representations, to store that information. And that was the mechanism. Like once you increased that a certain level, now it becomes capable of learning. Now, obviously, when we evolved the ability to do language, we didn't have any language to speak. So it was a byproduct of a different change. One thing changed in the brain. That change made something completely different possible, language. And it wasn't until we fell upon its. It took a long time for us to learn a language, and then things really went off rolling. Once you could do language and you could write information on books and you could do all that stuff, then you could start understanding the world and creating the leisure that was all part of understanding the world. You had time to do the experiments and time to do all this stuff to learn. You had time to learn. Now, the other part of it is the slow maturation of the first real human, okay, versus Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon types. The little grass cutter human, the small human, maturated much slower. And that slow maturation is really key to the whole language absorption and all of that stuff. So, but it was a small change. This isn't about bigger brains. It's about more able brains. That's all. Language is like having the sonar. It's a specific function. And we have it, and they don't. Just like bats have it, and rats don't. It's just a different kind of tool. And this happens to be a tool that is very powerful. Except for human intelligence, which for some reason happened in one fell swoop. Why? So again, it's evolution. There's lots of incidental and byproduct advantages. You go from having fingers to having, nubs to having a hoof. It doesn't seem logical, but it worked for the circumstance the animal was in to start walking on its thumb. It's just a fact. It works that way. Those can be decisive advantages depending on a circumstance. And it was the circumstances that dictated those subtle changes that made us do more sonar, so to speak, than vision, as the example of the bat and the rat. Like I said, it just happened to open a door that at the time we couldn't walk through, but it opened the door, and eventually we walked through it. All right. So, he's some sort of evolution denier on top of everything else. It just makes him such a fucking idiot. All right, I'll be back. Yeah, I should be back. All right. Gary has a religion. See, just more garbage talk. Doesn't mean anything. Religions are specific things. Religions are dogmatic in the sense that it's just stated in some primitive by somebody. Somebody just says, I talk to Jesus, blah, blah, blah. This is what Jesus says. There's no way of sourcing the information. That is, there's no way of personally examining the evidence. People can personally examine the theories and the arguments I make and see them as either real or unreal. They can understand that, people who say, because my father earned it, I earned it. But yeah, that doesn't make any sense. He has faith that some preposterously unlikely series of events led to his existence. Yes, they are unlikely. That's how I said it. Yeah, they're rare functions, not common functions, and there's a ton of them. It's not like just one-time event in our evolution. There's a whole bunch of one-time events, things that only happened one time. Very specific things, and that indicates, yes, it's very rare. All right, with no proof. The proof is you can only do it reasonably. I mean, it's in the evidence of the geological record. Okay, I mean, there's plenty of proof that there's no other DNA molecule making living things. Lots of evidence. Okay, the non-existence of the other DNA molecules is quite apparent. the argument that no other organism on the face of the earth is doing intelligence with anything other than a neuron. Well, that's just a fact. So clearly the invention of the neuron was critical to the advancement of a whole bunch of organisms, and without that one cell, one version of a thinking cell, a electrical cell, you could argue, yeah, we wouldn't have brains and wouldn't be having this conversation. Anyway, so there's lots of proof. So that's just a lie to say there's no proof. The proof is in the record. The fact that other things don't exist is a fact. Unless you have evidence otherwise. I have no reason to believe something exists until you show that it exists. So I clearly can say there's no aliens living on Earth with some degree of confidence. That is a religion. So clearly it's not a religion to understand that there's no competing DNA molecule, there's no competing neuron, there's no competing nucleic cell. You can just go on down the list of all the things. There's no competing spinal cord except for the chain that led to the fish. That's just the way it is, asshole. He admits even the neuron is hard to fathom. No, I didn't say anything like that, so that's another lie. I can fathom it. Okay, that cells get complicated and they get a chemistry, and then one of them becomes electric. Perfectly understandable to me. But life itself from nothing is even more so. So again, from nothing, no, there was a whole bunch of chemistry on planet Earth. That's what life was. It's the byproduct of chemistry. And now chemistry is the byproduct of the existence of atoms, the elements. And the existence of the elements is based on the existence of electrons and protons. And so you're saying it's my responsibility to somehow tell you what their origin was. And you always are going to believe their origin was somebody put them there. Like some other universe, some other world where they didn't even have to evolve. I don't know. Your magic god did it. I mean, he came from nowhere, invented by nothing, and he just poofed into existence. You're stuck with the same argument. The fact that the universe is the universe, and the universe has every appearance of being something that over time can do this entropy thing, where the entropy can change, things can get more complicated and less complicated. It goes, that there's a tidal force of entropy. It's a fact. It evolves. It changes state. But the fact that that would be cyclical is also understandable. And so it's just this cyclical process from simple to complex. All right. So again, it's just silly. So we have no option. Because I can't tell you the mechanism that created electrons and protons, therefore there has to be a God. I mean, so illogical. Let's see. But life is nothing more. So you can't even say religion without kook. Well, of course, it's their belief without reason. That's what faith is, and that's what religion is. It's based on some notion that have faith in it, and somehow it will set you free. Somehow that makes it true. So believe it, and then it becomes a reality, or some kind of horse shit like that. So yes, it's kooky. But he has faith on his own. So again, you're making this accusation, I believe something without a reason. I believe inheritance is bad because it looks everything like just cheating. You're just saying we want to cheat for these special people, and these people over here we won't cheat for. It just looks like cheating. Cheating sucks. Fuck that. Apparently there needs to be a videotape of Jesus walking on water. Well, there really does. I mean, if you're going to sell this idea, there needs to be something better than the words of 2,000-year-old dead humans, right? You got to do a lot better than that. Your little fish stories, yeah. I don't believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Lots of people say it was there. It yelled at them, and it insulted my mother-in-law. They have lots of whiny little complaints and personal experiences. Lots of people say they've been abducted by aliens and all kinds of stories. Why should I believe any of that horse shit? You silly person. but not some virtually impossible series of events. So again, you can say virtually impossible. It doesn't mean anything realistically. Um, yeah, we don't know exactly how rare it is because, like every lottery winner, we can't tell. Winning just looks like I went to the store, I bought the ticket, I go home, I watch TV, and I won. Wow, that was really easy. That was so fucking easy. You have no idea. You can't see it from sitting on your little sofa saying I won. You can't figure out, oh yeah, that was really easy. No, it could have been insanely unlikely. You could have been a lottery ticket for the galactic blah blah blah, and the odds of winning were gazillions and gazillions to one. But somebody's going to be sitting on a couch going, that was so fucking easy. It must happen all the time. Because they did it. Alright. Yeah, you're so fucking stupid. Let's see, series of events that led to highly complex intelligent life. I don't know, that's not a complete sentence, is it? But not for some virtually impossible series of events. So we do have essentially the videotape. We do have the fossil record. We do have real hard evidence. We have the genetic record, the genome blueprints. We have all the geological evidence, huge amount of geological evidence, in terms of minerals and volcanoes and all kinds of stuff. And then we have the fossil record and what else? I mean, then we have the geographic record, where the continents moved and you can actually see how the animals changed because of the continental drifts. Tons of evidence, right? I mean, it's clear the Galapagos was populated by organisms that came from South America, right? There's not some, it's not like they came from Fuji or something, and end up in the Galapagos. There's none of their relatives in the Galapagos. It's damn good evidence. All right, so moving on. Alright, back again. Alright, yes, we were disappointed life did not exist on Mars. I don't know who the we are. So my argument was a pretty simple argument, is nobody's grieved over the absent Plutonians, right? I mean, nobody has sat there really and grieved, oh, it's just terrible that those 19-tentacled swamp monstery things don't live on Pluto, and that Mars doesn't have great white sharks swimming in its rivers, and Saturn doesn't have little toxic chemical blobs that spew acid on each other, in their effort to survive. That no one's grieved over that. No one has contemplated it with, oh, the tragedy. Oh, how sad it isn't. There isn't these little balls of neural slop, doing their alien thing, like aliens, like some disgusting creature that's just out to survive, so clearly bug-like in its function. Oh, it's so disappointing. There aren't hives of termites, swarming on those planets. I mean, it's just. So he just pretends, oh, no, we really do. Oh, we're so sad. We're so sad that they don't, they're not watching the People's Court on Mars. We're so disappointed. And they're not having American Idol shows. Oh, it's so disappointing. No, they're not. And that's the difference between the obvious asymmetry between a missed good, okay, and a had bad. So, missed good doesn't mean anything. Had bad means a lot. Alright. Yes. So, I mean, look, if we did find little kittens on Mars, and we found out that 9 out of the 10 of them were killed before they reached their first birthday by, horrible, creatures, I bet you, okay, that if there was put to the human race a real vote, that they would vote to do something about it. Yeah. Stop the pain. Stop the suffering. Stop the torture. All right. Yes, we grieve the loss of the passenger pigeon. Okay, so I don't think anyone's shed a real tear ever. Okay, for the dodo or the passenger pigeon or any of these other species. So I just prove it. Prove it's really. Oh, somebody is just so upset there's no Tyrannosauruses. Now, I'm sure you could find somebody who just loves dinosaurs and just wishes they were stomping about. But he probably would be an anti-natalist because he'd think it's really cool that they'd be eating humans and, yeah, get them. Chomp chomp. Good. It'd be super cool spectacle, to as a game show on TV, run from the Tyrannosaurus. Yeah, I would watch. Yes, I would. Because humans are contemptible, weaselly liars like you. I'd just love to see you chomped by a fucking Tyrannosaurus. It would just please me. Alright, Gary just makes stuff up to fit his narrative. Well, the narrative is the stuff. You can't fit it, so that doesn't even make any sense. The narrative fits his narrative. What? Yeah, it's just too stupid. But this implication, again, as if somehow he has pointed out how the principles I'm arguing in defense of, the fact that we are delusional, that we have optimism biases, that we have this selfish nature just because of the way we've been built, that we automatically think we're kind of cool and everybody else isn't too cool. Lots of crap like that is what my narrative is, and he hasn't countered any of those with reasoned arguments explaining how that's wrong. And clearly my arguments are is there are facts to be gleaned from our world, okay? And there's a bunch of naysayers who just want to be anti-science and anti-reason because they want to be religious kooks. They want a wacky universe that they can make up rather than the real one where there is no happily ever after, and there are real statistical data, and there's real outcomes for your mushy hope. Your hope doesn't fix anything. You actually have to have a plan to fix things, and your plans all suck because your plan is basically, the chaos that we're existing is just fine. Yeah, I'm doing okay because I inherited some money. I mean, you're just such a fucking hypocrite. Again, another guy who hasn't died, but he's going to tell us it's all worth it. From his zero experience, he's going to tell us. He's an expert. He can force us, impose it on us, because he's such a fucking expert. No, he's an asshole. Alright. Alright, probably not terribly on any subject. Kind of surprised he didn't mention how the modern mystic deleted his old videos. Well, I'm sure I mentioned it. But what is it? What is it evidence of? I mean, the modern mystic's arguing that look, we can understand, some elements of our brain function, and yet he can't understand when he's being completely tooled by bullshit. Some silly notion that, I must delete the videos because, what reason? It's no good reason. So anyway, that sort of thing usually irritates Gary. Well, I'm just saying it just irritates me in principle. If somebody's going to say they're rational and they start doing irrational things, well, you're just demonstrating, well, maybe you're not so fucking rational, are you? Alright, someone asked the monomerist about it in his comments section. His reply was a glib, I'm a tidy sort of guy. So yeah, you can, the argument might be that he doesn't believe everything he made, all the arguments he made in those videos, or he doesn't think they're concise enough. There's too many errors. So I can see somebody doing that. They change their mind. They don't want to be blighted with having to correct their previous statements, and so they just eliminate them. But whatever, I still think it's a bullshit move because the reality is that's the record, and blah 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 blah. There's lots of videos I've made where even in this video, I mean, I said something about how much I would enjoy watching you getting eaten by a Tyrannosaurus. No, the argument is that I wouldn't philosophically defend it, but yes, the selfish truth is, as a selfish organism, I would enjoy it. Just like I could say, I can't imagine eating beef, I can't imagine eating a lot of things, but I might be able to imagine eating a chicken wing or something. It still seems almost possible in my brain that I would chow down. So, there's just truths that exist, And again, this goes to the whole inheritance argument in a sense. This argument, like the argument I make for vegetarianism, I'm not asking you to become a vegetarian. I'm not asking you to give up your inheritance. I'm not asking you to do any of that. I'm just asking you to concede the rational argument is. And all the people, the meat eaters out there, they if they had any integrity, they would admit that, well, if I was to reform me, if I had the power to remake me, why wouldn't I want to make myself into a power vegan? Why would I want the liability of needing to eat meat if I could be perfectly pleasured with something so much simpler? It's almost arguing like if you could make a, Stepford wife, you could just make a robot. I'm not saying you replace your current wife, you just, buy a robot. And it was perfectly satisfactory in every sexual way. What reason, would you impose the liability on yourself of maintenance for a living human when you can get all your gratification without the expense and the nonsense that you'd have to endure? So I'm just saying that these are just efficiency arguments. Essentially, I've always just been devoted to the concept of efficiency. The right to die is an efficiency argument. That wasting suffering is a precious thing. You don't squander it, you don't waste it, and you certainly don't impose it completely unnecessary. So the people who do want to die, look, if someone wants to live forever and try, I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying you should let the people who are willing to go, because it's just dead weight. It's just wasted resources, and it's a huge amount of money. It's just a rational argument. You're wasting suffering. You're wasting resources that could be devoted in the world to preventing even more suffering. It's a double negative. It's stupid and retarded. Oh, fucking idiots. Okay. Anyway. So the next comment. The thing I like best is how Gary calls out the do-gooder types who exacerbate the problem with poverty. Well, yeah, I'm honest. So you won't say that, though, because you'll accuse me of the opposite in some other comment, you fucking piece of scum. And that belief is the same source as all the rest of my beliefs, so why don't you just call that religion? Oh, he has a religious prejudice against poor people. No, I have a rational prejudice against poor people. Poor people are exactly how it sounds. It doesn't sound like a good thing. And it's certainly not a good thing for them to be making messes that they can't clean up. They shouldn't pretend they're not poor. If you're poor, it's a real circumstance. It's like having an open skull or something. It means you have to behave a little different. You have to wear a helmet. You have to do certain things because you're fucked up. Being poor is being fucked up. And you're not in a circumstance where you should start saying, I'm a very good driver. I'm a very good parent. You shouldn't be saying that shit. It's really stupid to say it. All right. That and the lunacy of open borders. Yeah, well, it's only lunacy because of the fact that the other cultures are shit. Okay, so, frankly, I wouldn't mind an open border with someplace more sophisticated, like Japan even. I wouldn't mind an open border with Japan. That doesn't seem like that could go wrong in any way in particular. But yeah, open borders with countries that are just going to, mean that you're going to live a less comfortable life because these people just don't give a shit about everything you give a shit about. And it's just a fact. They come from a different culture, and the cultures are completely different. You wouldn't want to live in theirs, and they shouldn't want to live in yours. Frankly, well, they're proving they don't want to live in yours because they don't want to change. They're just bringing their habits into your country and calling it multiculturalism. Driving around without a muffler. Fuck that. No, that's retarded. All right. Okay. Open borders. Most don't have the courage to do that. Well, he doesn't take any courage. Other than that, he says some things that are pretty or entirely incorrect here. Well, it says you. It says the stupid fool who believes in gods. Okay, he deliberately misrepresents inheritance, so he's back on that again. So he's the one with a little butthole problem, you know, where he gets a little twitchy ass when the word comes up because he's probably living on it. That's why he has opportunity to watch content he doesn't even agree with. You know, he obviously has lots of leisure time. Inheritance, so he can make the conclusion he wants. So he deliberately misrepresents inheritance. And how did I misrepresent it? It's just monarchy. You're just saying let's go back to a really stupid and feudal system. You know, where people don't earn it, they inherit it. Why would anybody rational do that? Oh, that's right. Nobody rational would. Creating wealth that one can pass on to itself is incentive. It's only incentive for a tiny percentage of the rich, and that's been demonstrated over and over and over again. Clearly, the incentive is not, you don't have to have children to be greedy. So that's just nonsense. A very large one. So again, I don't think you can prove that with any evidence whatsoever. Demographically, in any way, can you prove that the Bill Gates wouldn't be just as rich if he had kids or didn't have kids? I don't think there's any way you're going to ever produce any evidence indicating why anyone rational would believe that having kids matters to rich people. That it stops them, it gives them no incentive to care anymore about making more money. Bullshit. Yeah. Okay. He says it's just a fact that all children are the same. Well, it's a fact that their intrinsic qualities are the same in a general sense. And there's nothing innately inferior, okay, about one child and another child. Now, racists like you think there is, but there really isn't. And that can be proven because you can raise a kid from anywhere in a better environment and they turn into better people. It's just a fact. But you don't care about facts. What? Question mark. So he says, what? Question mark. So he doesn't understand that intrinsic fact. Okay, so he thinks there are a whole bunch of people on this planet that are intrinsically or fundamentally or genetically defective and they can't function up to any kind of standard. And it's been proven wrong over and over and over again, but he'll still believe it because he's just a racist. All right. All right. He realized how stupid that sounds, so he has to immediately qualify it. No, there's nothing. Does this sound like a qualification? No. No. Yes, babies are intrinsically valuable, and it has nothing to do with who they're born to or where they're born in the world. They're intrinsically have all the qualities of baby. It'd be as idiotic for me to say that orange cats are more valuable than brown cats or something. It'd just be totally idiotic for me to think so. That the brown one should be treated better than the orange ones for some reason. It'd be idiotic. That they're somehow innately entitled and innately special and innately should be privileged. That would be idiotic. All right, anyway. So he has to immediately qualify it, but in some of all or nothing fashion. But in some all or nothing fashion. I don't even know what that means. But anyway, there's no qualification beyond the fact of saying certainly some babies are born with, their head in their ass or something. And yes, they're defective and broken. Some babies might be born without a head at all. And so, yeah, you wouldn't really have to worry about how much they're going to suffer. So, yes, there's circumstances that would qualify the statement. But again, I stand by it that 99% of the babies born fit into a category of just as capable, just as much potential. And it's just going to be about who invests in them. And that's all that's going to decide which one wins and which one fails, is who invested in it, what was invested in them, what investment was made in them. All right. But who says, let's see, immediately qualify. Let's see, all children are the same. Okay, but who says that is true? Well, again, the facts do, statistics do. There are gradu- graduations in ability at birth. I don't think there really are. So again, he believes in magic things. He believes that people are magically endowed. Now, obviously, there's some people who might carry some genetic markers that would enable them to be more proficient. Some might be tone deaf, some might not be tone deaf, that kind of thing. So there might be people that are more likely to be able to be more equipped for certain disciplines. But generally speaking, in the overall character of the human race, some are going to have long torsos and be good swimmers. They'll have physical advantage. Clearly, basketball requires you to be tall. So there's lots of things. There's lots of skills that will be required to fit into some category to be able to be proficient at. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, in terms of being a decent human being, okay, if we're going to use that as the standard, a decent, productive human being, there's lots of ways to do that. Lots of ways to be decent and productive. Fight a fair fight. Anyway, I believe he has said things like pit bulls are dangerous by nature. Yeah, so again, give me the human correlation to a pit bull. I mean, these dog breeds are obviously a lot more throwback, okay? And you've deliberately emphasized jaw strength to make a pit bull in the first place. It was deliberately done to create that kind of a monster. So show me the humans who were deliberately made to be more thievy, or better at being criminals, or better at being liars. I mean, I would like to know what race you are, because you're an embarrassment to that race. You're an embarrassment. I mean, if you're a white male, you're an embarrassment to white males. Okay. Let's see. Pit bulls are dangerous by nature, right? So go ahead and out yourself. You were talking about the courage to say things before. Why don't you have the courage to out your racism? So you give me the example of the genetic humans who are pit bulls. Were the Native Americans pit bulls? I mean, which species of human, what race of human, what ethnicity of human do you believe is genetically a pit bull? The Jews? They're genetically toxic? Genetically greedier? Do you believe that? Then you're really fucking stupid. Alright. But they're not allowed to acknowledge such differences exist in humans. Yeah, okay, well, why don't you out it? Just to tell us what you think. I mean, there's so many arguments can be made. I mean, obviously there's cultural hostility here in America. I mean, so you could say that, well, if a black person is somebody talking street jive with his pants halfway down his butt, sluffling down the street, well, if that's all they could be, then you could argue, yes, you win the argument. But we know that has nothing to do with it. You could go to South Africa and you can find a guy who speaks better English than you do, and has a higher education than you do, and is, Sidney Poitier on steroids. So this has nothing to do with race, you retard. It has everything to do with the thing you want to deny people, which is investment. You don't want to invest in people. You just want to invest in your kind. You fucking racist. I didn't realize what a racist he is. I mean, it's just, yeah, he's just a fucking, what are you, live in Alabama or something? You fucking dumbass. Why don't you out yourself? Who are you, creepy? Okay. Let's see. But who says that's true? Graduations in liberal dogmas. Here we go. Okay. Liberal dogma allows for the belief that there are differences in breeds of dogs, but they're not allowed to acknowledge such differences exist in humans. Well, because there just isn't enough separation in time to create these huge genetic differences that could matter. The genetic differences are superficial. They're not in any way profoundly structural. And you pretending they are is just absolute nonsense. I mean, even if you could prove some kind of, like some genetic brains work a little slower, or some other kind of thing. I mean, you really just can't get around the argument that it's really about the functions. It's about the actual mechanisms, and there's No reason to believe that you are in any way substantially deficited. There's no the amount of difference is so small, and the amount of intellectual capacity it takes to be an honest and decent person is so small that you could argue that even if there was a 10% difference in IQ levels, in potential, in intelligence potential, even if there existed such a thing, it has almost zero meaning in terms of how you should invest because of the normative irregularities in any population. They won't all be the same. And so if you believe in the idea that you should judge every man based on the content of his character, then you're violating again the fundamental rational principle. Because you'd rather say, I'm going to slander you with your heritage. So if one of your ancestors committed a crime, you think it'd be perfectly reasonable for us to make you pay for it. That we keep you in some kind of little prison because of that ancestor's behavior. You want the world that works that way. So yeah, out yourself so I can find out who your heritage is, what kind of scumbag gave birth to you, what kind of shit. Because it's going to be shit, because you're a piece of shit. So yeah, you bred true. Okay. You're fucking ignorant. What kind of ignorant slop, created such a little hate-mongering puke. Alright, anyway. Does it really stand to reason? Yes, it does stand to reason that you're likely the spawn of shit, of unearned legacy, fucktard, unaccomplished scum. Okay, and I have pretty much the opposite view of the parties. So, yes, well, that's no surprise. You would think Hitler's a good idea. Okay, Democrats are wrong pretty much all of the time. Well, you won't give any examples. I've given hundreds of examples of how Republicans are always in it for them, always in it for the rich. They never endorse a policy that ever doesn't pay the rich more, doesn't service the rich, and only incidentally, only as a PR move does it ever give a shit about actual working people or actual disabled people or actual anything else. They never sincerely give an ounce of concern to any other thing than keeping the rich rich. And that's demonstrated by every single policy. All right. And you're proving it. Your whole death tax hysteria, aren't you just proving it? You're proving my very point. That fuck reason, fuck earn, fuck, they had like, whatever they called it, merit pay. That was a Republican idea, merit pay. You don't believe in it, right? They didn't believe in it, right? Because they never instituted it in any kind of rational way. Because they're not for merit. They're for unmerit pay. All right. So, enough said. I don't think he replied here. Yeah, so that's probably enough. Not in that case. I was just agreeing with the point he made at around 2:55. If you want to reference that, he made the point in other videos too. So what the hell? Well, I'm not sure what we were talking about, but when it comes to the elderly, they're going to die. They're going to have kids, right? I don't know what that means. Well, just another YouTuber 3 is a fucking unreliable pile of crap as a commenter too. So anyway, we won't bother with the exchange. So, Flyer on this video made me want to learn about physics. Oh, okay, well, good. Everybody should know something about it. What they should know about is that it's just another one of the PR frauds. Another big pile of lies to live by. Alright, anyway, so enough of video till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. There's a daunting task reasoning with humans because they're just so full of shit. They just ignore the arguments. I mean, you say it right to them. How is it not just like having a horse race where you give some horses privilege for no good reason? You give them a head start for no good reason. I mean, who would say it's a good horse race? Oh, it's the daughter of Secretariat or whatever. Therefore, we should give her a huge head start because she should win. Yeah, right? It shouldn't be a race. Fuck that race shit. What does that mean, race? It's a contest? It's a contest? No, it shouldn't be a contest. It shouldn't be fair. Fair? What is that? I can't understand what a fair is. I mean, it's so obvious. And for them just to play this game like that argument isn't right in front of them and they have done nothing to dispel it. They've done nothing to explain how it's not exactly like that. It's not exactly like cheating. Exactly like cheating. Not a little bit like cheating, not kind of like cheating. No, it's exactly like cheating. All right. So, till the next time. Ooh, these monarchists. Disgusting.